Chatan, as the groom comes in, let's sing a welcome to both the groom and the bride. Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Yeilanu. Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Simin Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simin Tov, Yeilanu. Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yeilanu, Yeilanu, Ulecho Yisrael. So folks, welcome again. I'm glad you're all here. This is sort of the pre-wedding party, as it were, and I'm really happy that you're all here. The way we start to do this prior to the wedding is through the signing of the ketubah, the signing of the wedding contract or the wedding document, as really kind of as a memento, as a remembrance of this very important moment, and as an opportunity to really help the two of you to begin this first of a number of different ritual transitions into married life. Before we actually sign, I'm going to ask the two of you to stand up for just a moment, if you can.
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm going to ask our second witness, good friend, leader of the Jewish community, Lenny Booth, to come forward this time. By putting our signatures onto this ketubah, we are saying that we recognize the love and the faith and the commitment between the two of you. So, part of the way we do this according to ancient Jewish law is one of the witnesses removes an object of some value. This is only a Timex, but it does have value. He's ready to go. I'm going to ask you to do the following. Lenny and I are going to hold on to this object. This is the Kli Shel Poman. All that means in Hebrew is, this is an object of value that belongs to one of the witnesses. We're going to take hold of this, and I'm going to ask the two of you to take hold of it as well and give a little tug. In doing that, it's almost like the ancient equivalent of the legality of a handshake. And then we're witnesses to this ceremony. Let's just take it. Mazel tov, mazel tov. Mazel tov. Come on, You're in the presence of some very important and beloved family members, probably the most important of all your beloved family members. And this is a time when I'm going to ask them to help you to place the veil over your head. And you know, of course, there are many, many reasons that the tradition offers for why we do the veiling ceremony, what we call in German or in Yiddish, bedecken, like a bedecken. So parents, I'm going to ask at this time that you help Jay take Antoinette's very long veil and placing it over her head. Jay, if you want to just make sure that she's veiled all the way around. And I'll recite the ancient blessing. Achotenu atayi la'alfei revavav. Our sister, our beloved, may you grow into myriads of thousands. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you both and guard you both. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. May God cause the light of God's face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's face to you and grant you, us, the people of our nation, the people of the state of Israel, and the people of all the world, the gift of shalom, the gift of peace. And we all say, Amen. Amen. Mazel tov, mazel tov.
just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, and the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me.
ברוכים הבאים בשם אדוני, ברכנוכם מבית אדוני, מי אדיר על הכל, מי ברוך על הכל, מי גדול על הכל. ויברך החתן והכלה. May you who enter be blessed in the name of God, in the name of Adonai. We bless you from this house of Adonai, from this house of God. May God, who is supreme in power and blessing and glory, bless Jay, this Chatan, this groom, and Antoinette, this Kala, this bride. Ribono Shel Olam, source of holiness, God who creates all, help all of us to see the sacred dimension of all of life. Guide Jay and Antoinette to the realization of sanctity and devotion every day as today. Help them to renew their love continually as you, God, renew creation. May their concern for each other reflect your concern for all people. May their loving faithfulness reflect your love. Throughout the years, may they hallow their life together, that the home they establish become a blessing to all of Israel and to all of humanity. God, may your light illumine their lives. And we all say, Amen. As we prepare for Seder and Rusin, which is a very important part of our ceremony, I'm going to ask our second witness, our second aide, Lenny Goodkin, to come forward with Bede in arms. Lenny, welcome. We're going to try to keep everyone who needs to be asleep.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
But you understand that just as your being a witness on the ketubah was absolutely vital to the validity of this ceremony, right? To its being a ceremony known as the ceremony of kiyum, something that exists by virtue of the witnesses, that it's important for you also to serve as an aid r'iyah, as one who watches while Jay and Antoinette place their rings upon each other's fingers as a way of indicating their love for each other and the fact that they're now bound together as one heart, as one couple.
כן, בטח.
Jay, normally, in a formal sense, you would be the one who recites the next blessings that I'm going to chant. But the tradition, you should both know, was wise enough to recognize that no groom or bride in their right mind on their wedding day would try to remember all these Hebrew words. And so I'm going to ask you both now that you make me your shaliach, that you make me your agent in your behalf, to recite these words, the blessing over a cup of grape juice, symbol of joy, as well as your kateh racine, the blessing of betrothal. Do you both make me your shaliach, your agent at this time?
Yes.
Thank God. I'm going to ask that using all of your gemological, mineralogical, and metallurgical experience and expertise, that you ascertain at this time that both of these rings are shavim pruta, worth at least 1 penny, and therefore valid for this ceremony.
At least.
Thank you, Wendy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushan mitzvotav v'tzivanu al ha'arayot, ve'aser lanu et ha'arusot, ve'hitir lanu et ha'nesuot lanu al yidei chuppah v'kiddushin. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh amo Yisrael, al yidei chuppah v'kiddushin. As you're both sitting from this cup of blessing, as you share this cup, so may you share all things from this day on with love and understanding. May life's joys be heightened, its bitterness sweetened, and each of its moments made sacred. We all say,
Amen.
Jay, at this time, in the presence of both witnesses, I'm going to ask you to place this tabat, this ring, on Antoinette's right index finger. As you know from studying your study, the right index finger was understood to lead directly to the heart. So in placing your respective rings on each other's right index fingers, what you're indicating is that just as this ring is a complete circle, so too, you are completing the circle of your lives by extending yourselves out towards each other's hearts. Would you place this on in his right index finger? And Jenny, you say,
Chareya Mekudeshet Li B'Taba'at Zo Dat Moshe Yisrael. By this ring you are consecrated to me as my wife in accordance with the laws of Moses and the people of Israel.
Stephen, could you hand me the ketubah, please? Before Antoinette gives Jay his ring and recites something appropriate for him as a token and an expression of her love and respect for him, I'm just going to read a small portion of the ketubah, the traditional marriage contract, in the ancient language of Aramaic, a sister language to Hebrew, which was used and continues to be used by our people all these many, many years as the language of Jewish law and tradition. באחד בשבת, ב13 יום לחודש סיוון שנת 5776, לבריאת עולם עניין שאנו רואים כאן באלבני, ניו יורק, במדינת אמריקה הצפונית, איך החתן יעקב בר שמואל נחמה, אמר לה להדקלתא, אביבה בת אברהם ושרה, הוויין איתתו, כדת משה וישראל, ואנה הפך אלוקים ועזות בפרנסיה דכי כלוחות גוברים יהודאים, דפלחים ומוקרים וזנים ומפרנסים לשם כתוב במפורש בלמד נכשל וכאן הבן, הכל שריר וקיים. נאום הרב גליל אברהם בן שמעון אורנשטיין, נאום אריה יצחק בן דוד קלנברג. The ketubah, while it contains a lot of legal and technical language about mutual responsibilities towards each other in building a household, is also a spiritual mysterious, a spiritual remembrance, a memento of this day. We not only talk about commitment to each other, we, as it were, put it into writing, recognizing, of course, that a marriage, a life together, is not simply about lovely abstractions and wonderful things that we say. It's also about the concrete details of the everyday, of how we sanctify our lives together with each other and with others through the things that we do. In that respect, I'm going to ask both of you to hold the ketubah at this time, and in front of both witnesses, and in front of all those who are assembled, to recognize, of course, that this ketubah belongs to both of you. We look forward to visiting you in your home, where we'll find the ketubah displayed proudly on your wall. Aviv, I'm going to ask that at this time, please place Jay's ring on his right index finger, and then you'll repeat after me. Ani, Lidoti, Li. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine.
My beloved is mine.
I have to say to both of you, that verse from the book of Psalms that we recite as part of the Hallel prayer is one of my favorites. Translated, it just means, this is the day not simply created by you or by us, this is the day created by God. It's a day of joyousness, it's a day of celebration. Jay, we've known each other for many, many years, since you were very young. I watched you grow up. We lost touch as you moved into adulthood. I moved on with all the different parts of my life. And to have you kind of reconnect with us as an adult, for whom marrying this wonderful human being, and for whom creating a Jewish household, and for whom growing in Judaism mattered, that for me has been a point of incredible pride. And Aviva, it's a perfect Hebrew name for you. The word Aviva, of course, means spring, springtime, which of course indicates and resonates with this notion of life and liveliness. Anyone who knows you, Aviva, knows how full of life and full of ideas and full of just really, really great things you are. You and Jay complement each other quite beautifully. And in the now 2 years that I've really gotten to know you, I've really come to understand and to see how you are truly your name, the name that you've chosen in Hebrew, Aviva. One who's full of life, one who springs forward and into action in her own very gentle but very firm way. That is a wonderful and a beautiful thing, and it will help you both as you move forward into the next stages of your lives together. Parents, if you all help with wrapping the tongue around your children's shoulders at this time. This is the Talmud of Israel, yes? In Jay and Antoinette fashion, this Talmud was bought by Antoinette in Israel, in the holy city of Yerushalayim, of Jerusalem, in Tzfat, even holier city of Tzfat, in Galilee, just a couple of weeks ago. And Jay was able, just last night, 4 o'clock in the morning, to tie the tzitziot, the fringes which make the Talmud a sacred object, a sacred ritual object, thus completing the weaving of the Talmud just in time for your way. When you're wrapped in this Talmud, one more symbol with the chuppah of the roof that you are surrounding yourselves with and building over your heads to build this new home. I now recite the Sheva Brachot, the 7 blessings, in which we thank God for the great institution of marriage for all people who wish it. And we also thank God specifically for the great institution of Jewish marriage to build the people of Israel, the community of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol bara lichvodo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer ha'adam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar et ha'adam betzalmo betzelem demut tavnito ve'hitkin lo mimeno binyan ha'ead. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'adam. Sos tasis et ariel ha'akara b'kibbutz v'neha b'tocha b'simcha. Baruch atah Adonai mesameach Zion b'vaneha. Sameach tesamach re'im ha'ahuvim ki samecha yitzircha b'gan eden mikadem. Baruch atah Adonai mesameach chatan v'chala. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bara sason v'simcha chatan v'kala. Asher bara sason v'simcha chatan v'chala. Gila rina ditza v'chedva ahava v'yachva shalom v'reut v'hera Adonai Eloheinu shama b'harei Yehuda ובחוצות ירושלים כל ששון וכל שמחה כל חתן וכל כלה כל מצלות חתנים מחובתם ונערים במשתה נגינתם ברוך אתה אדוני משמח חתנים הכלה. Praise are you, Adonai our God, who rules the universe, who created joy and gladness, bride and groom, pleasure, song, delight, laughter, love, and harmony, peace, and companionship. Adonai our God, may there always be heard in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem voices of joy and gladness, of happiness, voices of bride and groom, the jubilant voices of those joined in marriage under the Chuppah, the voices of the young people feasting and singing. Praise are you, Adonai, who causes the groom and the bride to rejoice together. We all say, Amen. So we're coming to the end of our ceremony. And we're about to go to the Sudat Mitzvah, to have an opportunity to eat together, to sing and to dance and to enjoy each other's company together. And before we do, I just want to recognize the presence once again of your beloved parents, beloved family, friends, associates, all people from the community who are here with us today, here in God's presence, in the presence of our Torah, in the presence of our tradition, celebrating with both of you an incredible moment in your lives, which will be part of, we hope, many, many beautiful moments. So once again, in your presence, honoring all of you here today, I'm going to recite Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing once again, which is a blessing of peace that we read in the Torah yesterday in synagogues around the world. The blessing, as I mentioned, never talks about wealth or health or celebrity or status or power, any of that. All it talks about is God's presence and the blessing of God's peace. Something which, in a world so filled right now with so much heartlessness and hatred and pain and violence, is the best blessing we can hope for you and for us. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you both and protect you both. May God show you favor and be gracious to both of you. May God show you kindness and grant you, all of us, the people of our nation, the people of the state of Israel, and all of humanity, the gift of shalom, the gift of peace. And we all say, Amen. You both know through your reading of history that the idea of jumping the broom in a way has a very, very long and complex history, going even further back than before the antebellum South in the United States and the very dark period in the American people's history of slavery. It is a practice that probably goes as far back as the 18th century, maybe even earlier, into Europe and perhaps into Africa as well. It is a tradition that was used by those who were oppressed by slavery in this nation as a way of indicating in whatever formal way they could that they were committed to each other, that they had, as it were, jumped the broom made that leap of faith and action into a life together with each other. Because they were often denied, in fact, always denied the opportunity to do that with the dignity of free people who could marry officially and formally in the way that you're doing today. We will continue that tradition today, recognizing the blessing that you both have, that we all have, of living in a country where the freedom to marry, the freedom to be who we are as families, as human beings, as members of the community, with dignity and with a sense of security and safety, is a freedom that is unconditional and that should never be taken for granted. So, before we break the glass, which will officially formally end our ceremony, I'm going to ask you both, Antoinette, to the extent that you can, because you are very well trained, to jump the broom. If you need to just step over it, and that's safer, that's fine too. The last thing we're going to do today is the breaking of the glass, shibor hakos. This is one of those Jewish traditions that has 1,000 different reasons for it, which of course was our tradition's way of saying if we have 1,000 reasons for something, it's that we don't really know the real reason, so we come up with 1,000 reasons. One of my favorite ways of explaining the breaking of the glass is that it's a reminder that though your lives today are like the ring, perfectly round, perfectly circular, completed whole, you will go back out into the world, as you both know. That world will be filled with broken and shattered lives, broken and shattered institutions, broken and shattered dreams and hopes. That is not a reason for despair. That is a reason for more aviva, more spring, more life, more assertion that we will not be beaten down by forces of evil and anger and fear and despair and hatred. That we will take what is shattered and we will, to the best of our ability, be God's partners in rebuilding it, in putting it back together, in tikkun olam, fixing the universe. Now, one thing I want to tell you is, you brought a pretty heavy glass here. I told you not to do that, but you guys didn't listen. Clay, glass, whatever it is. If it doesn't break, it's a sign that your lives will never have any brokenness in them. If it does break, as we normally assume that it will, it is of course a sign that whatever you go through in life, whatever others around you go through in life, you will always have the opportunity and the obligation to meet all of that with a sense of faith, of love, and of hope.
Please rise. Please rise.
Okay, no, in Jewish tradition, people start interrupting me all the time. Don't do that. Jewish people don't interrupt me. Okay? I actually spent a lot of time writing this. A lot. A good amount. All right, so what happened was Rabbi Dan told me I didn't have to write a Devorah Torah. He said, you don't have to do this. And then I thought we did this thing super Jewy. I fasted all morning. We did all the traditions. We didn't see each other the week before the wedding. So I figured it's Jewy enough. I don't have to do a Devar Torah. But I figured I should at least look at the Torah portion. So I did, and holy crap, it's the portion where Miriam got in trouble for talking smack about her brother Moses' marriage to a black woman. Yeah. And I realized I'm married to a black woman. So I had to do a Devar Torah, okay? So what happened was, it starts out with, he married a Cushite woman, Miriam said to Aaron. And the commentary in Eitz Chaim, the Torah book we use, states that a Cushite is either from Nubia or Ethiopia. Cush is the old school name for what is now modern northern Sudan. Back in the day, before Common Era, Cush was one of the most richest and powerful kingdoms in the world. It whooped Rome's behind a couple times. They had pyramids, a lot of pyramids. They did pretty good. So Moses' boo was a dark-skinned beauty with strong family background. No, we're not going to get into Moses' skin tone because there's a good chance it didn't resemble mine. God caught Aaron and Miriam speaking Lashon Hara, aka gossip, and asked, "How then did you not shrink from speaking against my servant Moses?" As punishment, Miriam was stricken with snow-white scales. Aaron said to Moses, "Oh my Lord, account not to us the sin for which we committed in our folly." And even Moses cried out to the Lord, saying, "Oh God, pray heal her." But Miriam was shut out of the camp for 7 days. And that took place during our big schlep from Egypt to Israel. So all of us had to wait for her. So we were all punished for her gossip. A modern reading of this would tell you that it's because of racism that she was punished, because she was racist. But the thing was, race broke down a lot differently back then. It wasn't as black and white as it was. Those are modern constructs. This was 2000 and some change back. Things weren't black and white. So some commentators say Aaron and Miriam gossiped about Moses neglecting his wife. Some say the Cushite woman wasn't actually his wife Zipporah, that the Cushite was his second wife, and Aaron and Miriam didn't approve of his polygamous relationship. Keep in mind that would mean he was married to 2 black women. And so, well, one message you can take from it is that I shouldn't neglect my wife or get into a polygamous relationship. So I will accept that from the Torah portion. Many commentators think it doesn't matter what they were gossiping about. Aaron and Miriam's punishment occurred because they spoke Lashon Hara about the dude God made his highest leader. If they had something to say, they should have said it to Moses' face. And the reason why the punishment was so severe was because Aaron and Miriam were prophets, yo. They were held to higher expectations. So I thought of a few things more things that I'd like you to take from my spiel. For the purposes of Annie and I, don't talk smack about us. If you see her or other black Jews in your shul, try not to ask him or her if he or she needs help finding anything, especially if he or she is there every single week. They may be married to the next great Jewish leader. I meant they may be the next great Jewish leader. Don't refer to black Jews as Cushi. It's been used pretty negatively over the years. Tony, get the heck, I don't know why you're here.
My interpretation is not the same as yours.
I don't care for your interpretation, Tony. Farewell, Tony.
Okay, we'll talk later.
We'll talk later.
We'll talk later.
Don't call back black Jews Cushi. You might be stricken with leprosy. Avoid using the term Cushi. On the topic of ignorance in our Jewish communities, I decided one generalization that is completely incorrect, but Annie and I will allow. Feel free to invite us over to Shabbat dinner and feed us stereotypically black foods. Sure, you never took into account that Annie's family comes from Jamaica and Nigeria and not from the South. And yes, Annie may get a tad bit upset, but I love me some fried chicken. I hate collards, but they're way better than gefilte fish. For the remainder of my Devar Torah, I want to talk about gratitude, something many Israelites lack. During their trek from Egypt, God hooked the Israelites with delicious sky bread every day for every meal. They would give them just enough for every meal, right? And then the Israelites had to have faith that he will provide for the next meal. And so these crazy guys started weeping and whining that they wanted meat. They were all like, we liked it better in Egypt where we were given fish, cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic. Keep in mind, during their time in Egypt, they didn't have God's commandments, so they were governed by no morals. Moses immediately went to God and said, I can't deal with these people. He said, actually, kill me rather, I beg you. Because they were asking, they were saying, God's providing me with sky bread that can taste like anything for every meal, but we want what we had in slavery. When Moses dealt with the golden calf fiasco, he asked God to forgive him. When Moses dealt with the spies fiasco, he asked God to forgive him. When the Israelites glorified slavery, Moses said, kill me. So I'm not Mr. Gratitude. My favorite hobby is complaining. I only have gratitude when I'm facing losing something. Plus, I have difficulties having faith in the future. A lot of people know here that me and Annie were married by a judge recently, right? This is our second wedding, and this was actually supposed to be a much smaller affair. But it became something that meant a lot more. Before my last wedding, I was dealt with a lot of anxiety. I kept telling myself, I was stuck in my head, telling myself that Annie and I couldn't merge cultures, that Annie was better off with a different dude. I said the last thing the black community needs is some white dude taking one of their talented 10th. I was catastrophizing worst case scenarios, including divorce. And I was thinking, when we have kids, if we split, what would happen? Would they be Jewish? I'm carrying 5,700 years of heritage on my back here. And I looked at the TV and I would see couples and I would say, why don't I look like them? Why don't they look like me? But the thing was, single life I could do. I knew how to do that. I knew what to expect. I didn't have anyone depending on me other than my immediate family. With Annie, the stakes were high. I could hurt someone I cared for. With Annie, I had to put off instant gratification and look towards the new tribe I was building. But I didn't have to. I could go back to single life. I could Peter Pan it and remain a bachelor. I could buy all the Kangles and New Era hats I wanted. I could eat fried food every day. I could read comics all night and go to the casino on weekends. I could socialize with people on my terms, which many people know is not very often, and not have to come home every night after a tough day at the insane asylum/school that I work at and have to think of someone else's emotions. But through this time of questioning, God continued to provide the sky bread. If I took my relationship one day at a time and trusted that in God, that he was going to keep providing, my relationship will continue in the right direction, everything would have been good. But instead I was obsessed over the uncertainty of the future. And in our time together, but we had accomplished so many incredible things. Me and Annie motivate each other. When we fought, we still looked up to each other. We're both stubborn, but and very intelligent, but there's respect between us. During our time together, she got her master's in marketing. I became a successful social worker. We both grew more spiritually. We started a family, and like everything we do together, our family's amazing. Our little dog doesn't even bark and is happy at all times. So after months of disturbed sleep, after months of painful conversations, after months of praying for guidance that would never be concrete enough to ease my nerves, Annie and I stood before a judge and said, I do. In the Torah portion, God provided the community with increased spirituality from their leaders. God also provided them with so much meat that it came out of their nostrils. Many didn't continue their journey because they died from eating too much. But I made it. I made it through the trek. And this wedding wasn't supposed to be a big deal. It was supposed to be small, and we were supposed to go out to lunch together. But once Annie and I jumped the broom, everything changed. We started working more and actively listening to each other. I sought help for my anxiety, and Annie practiced communicating that when she was frustrating, instead of just telling me I was annoying her and not talking to me, she would talk to me through it. I worked on my obsession with schedules and controlling how things are done, and I worked on trusting her and her spontaneity. And this wedding is so much more meaningful today, because I really feel like so much more passionate about the direction me and Annie are going, so much more confident. And in that last wedding, I gotta tell you how much support we felt from everybody also, though. Like, I really felt there was a community of people watching us come together and supporting us through that all. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm ready to give up meat. Not really, just symbolically. You can still bring me the fried chicken. I love Annie, and I love the future we're building. We're taking over, we're a light into the nations, and I'm not worried about falling apart because we have shown we are determined to work through the things together. I guess the lesson we should all take from this Torah portion is to have gratitude for the sky bread on our journey to Zion. And of course, the sky bread is dark-skinned.
He captured my heart on the day he was born and became more awe of him in the years that passed. But today, as I watched him marry a wonderful woman, I feel with pride and confidence that Antoinette are both embarking on a wonderful journey filled with love, happiness that can only come as a husband and wife. May the two of you always treat each other with love, compassion, caring, and kindness. I ask everyone to join me in wishing them the best.
מצלות חתנים מחופתם ונערים ממשתה נגינתם ברוך אתה אדוני ושמח חתנים הבכלה ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן
No, stop already. Mazel tov.